It is a cold afternoon in Arkansas. Some parts of the state are dealing with winter weather, and you know what that means, of course. Trouble on the roads. This is a picture from the Department of Transportation. It shows crews helping a truck stuck on Highway 62 near Corning. Traffic is moving again, but it's a reminder to check road conditions before you hit the road today. We did not see anything like that around here. As expected, Nathan, the forecast verified. And while that winter weather is moving out, Nathan Scott is here telling us that the cold is hanging around. Look at that snow up in, what is that, Stone County?
That is Calico Rock in Stone County. Yeah, as expected, they did see a little bit of a dusting or an inch, primarily in northeast Arkansas. Jonesboro reporting in with an inch of snow, and that's where the most moisture was located, and that's where the cold air was located. Winter weather advisories have now been dropped for central Arkansas, those counties just off to the east. In east Arkansas, they'll still stick around for the next few hours, but by far the worst weather taking place into Tennessee. The snow, what's left over of it, is still lingering around Jonesboro that will be moving out of the region in the next 1 to 2 hours. I can't rule out there could be a stray flurry around parts of central Arkansas. Temperatures, though, primarily above freezing from Little Rock down to the south, but there's actually some sun breaking through the cloud cover in Russellville and Clinton. And I think we will see some partly sunny skies, especially from Little Rock into the north and west. It is chilly out there. Like Michael said, it feels like 28 in Little Rock, only feels like 7 in Harrison. Another system will bring us more rain and maybe a little bit of wintry weather for the start coming up into the weekend. More on that a little bit later.
Today, the nation marks the one-year anniversary of the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with a look at how people are remembering this solemn day.
I'm praying that we'll never have another day like we had a year ago today.
President Biden visited the U.S. Capitol 1 year after a mob stormed the same building in an attempt to prevent the certification of the 2020 presidential election results.
Those who stormed this Capitol, and those who instigated and incited, and those who called on them to do so, held a dagger at the throat of America, at American democracy.
The president, calling out his predecessor, says the nation is at a turning point.
We must decide, what kind of nation are we going to be? Are we going to be a nation that accepts political violence as a norm?
Despite the attack, Congress returned to complete its duty formalizing the election results, but divisions over the outcome of the election remain.
It's going to take a long time for us to overcome. And look, we can either, embrace the truth of what happened with the election and what happened on January 6th, or we can be destroyed by lies.
Republican Governor Larry Hogan, who deployed the Maryland State Police and National Guard to help protect the Capitol, says Americans need to come together.
We're more divided than ever, and both parties, the extremes of both parties are tearing the country apart.
A CBS News poll out this week shows 68% of Americans say the January 6th attack was a sign of increasing political violence. 32% say it was an isolated event. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Former President Donald Trump canceled a planned press conference today. Instead, he issued a statement slamming President Biden and calling the 2020 election rigged. New at noon, a fourth Arkansan has turned himself in for alleged involvement in last year's attack. Robert Snow was taken into custody this week. He now faces several charges, including entering and remaining in a restricted building and disorderly conduct in a Capitol building. Snow has been released on limited supervision until his next court date. He joins 3 other Arkansans, John Thomas Mott, Peter Stagger, and Richard Barnett, who are all facing federal charges in connection to that January 6th attack. We're following their cases closely, and we'll have more as their trials begin and progress. Tracking down and prosecuting the suspects involved in the January 6th attack has evolved into one of the biggest investigations in the history of the FBI. Still ahead on THV11 News at Noon, we're hearing from members of a secretive group involved in helping scour through thousands of hours of video evidence to identify those involved. That story coming up right here at 12:16. Now let's move on to the latest on COVID-19 in Arkansas. Record jumps, overwhelming testing demands, schools pivoting to virtual learning. It's clear Arkansas is in the middle of another COVID-19 surge. 7,488 new infections were reported on Wednesday. That beats out Tuesday's number for the biggest one-day jump since the beginning of the pandemic. Active cases continue to climb because of those record numbers. Get this, more than 38,000 Arkansans are dealing with COVID-19 right now. 819 of them are fighting it from a hospital. That is 44 more than Tuesday's total. And the demand for testing remains at an all-time high. Yesterday, Baptist Health tested more than 1,700 people at its drive-through clinic in West Little Rock. UAMS tested more than 1,000 people on its campus. With this surge in full swing, schools are ramping up their safety measures. Some of the largest districts in the state are now switching back to virtual learning for the rest of the week. Little Rock and the Pulaski County Special School District both switching all grades to virtual learning until at least the beginning of next week. North Little Rock School District is keeping 7th and 8th graders online after pivoting them earlier this week. And Conway High School is virtual today and tomorrow. The Arkansas Center for Health Improvement explained some of the reasoning behind the temporary move to virtual learning.
I trust and have been engaged with our superintendents, our principals, our teachers. They're trying to do their best on keeping distance and on keeping your school environment safe. Education is critically important for our kids, but you need to send your kid into an environment where everything is being done to protect their health and safety.
ACI also emphasized other measures that schools can take to help increase student safety. Those include requiring masks and social distancing. And with students at home for the next few days, the Little Rock School District is making sure that they still get the food that they need. We have a phone number right there on your screen. That is for the district's nutrition department. Parents can call that number to set up meals for their kids until they return to campus. You can also find more on lrsd.org. With COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations surging, school districts and federal officials are debating the steps to keep everyone as safe as possible. Bradley Blackburn has the latest.
Now that the CDC is recommending booster shots for children 12 to 17, health officials are hoping the extra protection will ease COVID hospitalizations. A record number of children with the virus are being hospitalized, more than 600 a day over the past week.
Rapid community of spread is seeing larger numbers of children being hospitalized, again, mostly among the unvaccinated.
In Chicago, the nation's third largest school district has canceled classes for a second day after leaders failed to reach an agreement with the teachers union, which voted in favor of remote learning.
Our schools are safe, no question about it. And there's nothing that anybody can tell us differently because we know it to be true.
Schools across the country are all trying to balance student and staff safety with making sure the learning continues.
Of the 5 largest school districts, only Los Angeles requires a negative test before coming to class. The others are opting for social distancing and masking. A number of districts, including Philadelphia, have gone to virtual learning in some schools because Omicron is causing staffing shortages.
Things happen all the time and you just have to be ready to do your best with it.
We should already know what to do and how to do it so no one feels like they're scrambling.
And in California, officials are taking another step in the battle against the virus, announcing the state's indoor mask mandate will be extended until at least mid-February. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Finding the hundreds of people who stormed the U.S. Capitol last year has been a massive undertaking, but a group of cyber sleuths are now assisting federal investigators to track them down. How they're doing it, coming up after Nathan's forecast.
That wintry mix that we saw in parts of the area this morning has moved out and the cold air has settled in. It's going to be a cold day and even a frigid start to your Friday. I'll have more on those details coming up.